Hey y'all, it's K-Bird Tweets, and this is Peace, Love, and Baseball. Welcome back to another episode of Peace, Love, and Baseball. I'm your host, K-Bird Tweets. If you are not following me on Twitter, you can find me there at K-Bird Tweets. That's B-U-R-D, K-B-U-R-D, Tweets. We've got the K-Bird Tweets YouTube channel where you can watch Peace, Love, and Baseball on YouTube while you listen. And of course, Peace, Love, and Baseball is on your favorite podcast platforms. So Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast, make sure you're subscribed and you won't miss an episode. We are doing lots of team feature episodes this year, going through all 30 Major League Baseball franchises, diving into their fandom, the culture, all that good stuff, along with some fun interviews and other stuff. But this week, we are at the officially passed, I guess, the 25% through the season point. So we're a quarter through or more for all 30 teams in Major League Baseball. And I wanted to do something a little special. But I wanted to talk about like all of the biggest headlines that have happened so far in Major League Baseball, but there's a lot of them. And I started making a list and there was well over 20. And I was like, Kelsey, that's going to be a really long episode. And we don't need to do that to the friends and fans. That's, not necessarily what they're looking for. They're either up to speed on the season or they're not. And if they're not, you're going to want to get up to speed in like 25 minutes or less. So here's what I did. We've got 25 headlines that we are going to roll through here in 25 minutes for 25% through the season. That means that maybe you've been consuming this, maybe you've been keeping up, but if you haven't, you're going to get caught up real quick here. 25 minutes, you're going to need to know about all of the things throughout all of Major League Baseball that you need to be following and paying attention to. And if you have already heard about all of them, well, there's been at least 25 of them. So we're going to catch you up. Just make sure, give you a refresher and make sure that you're feeling good and connected and immersed in Major League Baseball as we go into the second quarter of the season here. The biggest challenge is going to be for me to only spend 60 seconds talking about each of these headlines. So I've done my prep work here. Hopefully we're going to make it happen. And yeah, we're going to dive right in no particular order to these 25 headlines in 25 minutes. I am literally going to set a stopwatch for myself and watch it count down to try to keep on track to make sure that I don't go longer than a minute on each of these headlines or, give or take. Some will be like 30 seconds, some might be 90 seconds, but I haven't tried it yet. So here's hoping. My intention is not to talk very fast. My intention is to be very efficient with the information. So you only have to hear what's important, right? Because we have all these articles, you read those as they come out if you want to, but the point of this episode is like a catch up, kind of like a recap, before the last season of Ozark. We got to get back on the same page. And those are like 5 minutes long, but I don't have that kind of editing skills and budget. So this is going to be 25 minutes long and we're going to catch you up on everything that you need to know about the Major League Baseball season so far. Okay, I'm going to start the clock and let's get into it. Our first story started before the Major League Baseball season even was underway, and that is the Ippei Mizuhara gambling scandal. Shohei Ohtani's former interpreter Ippei Mizuhara has pled guilty at this point to bank fraud and tax fraud after admitting to stealing more than 16 million. We initially heard it was like 4 million. No, 16 million from the Dodgers superstar. And according to prosecutors, it was to, quote, finance his voracious appetite for illegal sports betting. Mizuhara has worked as Ohtani's interpreter since he signed with the Angels for the 2018 MLB season. He was fired a day into the 2024 MLB season while the Dodgers were in South Korea to kick off the season after the gambling scandal broke on March 20th. MLB has now formally launched an investigation, and Ohtani has denied that he has placed any bets or had any knowledge of Mizuhara's gambling, which is pretty crazy, kind of hard to believe, right? But prosecutors have also said that Ohtani is a victim and was not aware of the gambling or the wire transfers from his bank account. So if the FBI says it's true, it must be true. I don't know. Again, I'm just giving you the surface level stuff here. Your need to knows. If you want to look more into that, there is a lot more to be found. Number 2, the A's are leaving Oakland. They are going to move to play in Sacramento, but ultimately they're trying to move to Vegas. So here's the latest. The Nevada Supreme Court has sided with the district court judge's ruling in favor of the Athletics. So they have rejected the Nevada Teachers Union Political Action Committee's effort to put the team's Las Vegas ballpark public financing on November's ballot for schools over stadiums. So they were going to try to let the public vote of whether the funding should go to teachers and like education in Nevada, or the public money should go to this stadium. But a political action committee called Schools Over Stadiums that is battling the A's public funding. They are not going to give up. They plan on fighting to get the initiative on the 2026 ballot, which would still be voted on prior to the stadium being done, or probably even breaking ground at this point. The team will play home games next season at Sutter Health Park, which is home of the minor league baseball side of the Sacramento River Cats. They're going to play there for the 2025 through 2027 seasons, and the team plans to relocate to Vegas in 2028. There's a big wait to see on that still because it's all kinds of mess, but that's what's going on. That's the latest. Number 3, Royals and Rays getting new stadiums. The Royals plan in February to build, they announced plans in February to build a new ballpark in the middle of downtown Kansas City. So they're not in downtown currently, but this $2 billion plus stadium is set to be built just blocks away from T-Mobile Center and the Power Light District in the, quote, heart of Kansas City. The goal is for the stadium, which will seat about 34,000 fans, to be ready in time for the 2028 season. So it's going to be right near where the Kansas City Chiefs play, which I'm sure would be great for the city and just drawing more people to the ballpark. Likewise, the Tampa Bay Rays presented plans for a new stadium, a $1.3 million, that has to be $1.3 billion typo there, Kelsey, that is said to be similar in ways to the reinvention of Wrigleyville, with much more to do around the ballpark. So the idea is to make it much more of a destination for the entire game day experience in St. Pete. And the stadium is going to look very different than their current stadium, but it will still have a roof and air conditioning. Got to have that in St. Pete in Florida. And it's still going to have the Stingray touch tank, baby. Did you know you can touch Rays at Tampa Bay Stadium? You did, if you listened to our Tampa Bay Ray episode. The current lease on Tropicana Field is through 2027. So the idea is to have the stadium built for the 2028 season. Number 4, we got to talk about the pitcher injury epidemic. Pitchers who are down so far, just some notable ones in 2024. We got Spencer Strider, who was like everybody's favorite to win the NL Cy Young. He is having an internal brace replacement, so not full TJ, but Lucas Giolito was down before the season even started. Shane Bieber, Yuri Perez, all out with Tommy John. We got Kodai Senga, has a shoulder strain. Garrett Cole, elbow inflammation. Eduardo Rodriguez, a lat strain that's keeping him down for longer than initially anticipated. Devin Williams, closer for the Brewers, has stress fractures in his back, and Kyle Bradish has an elbow strain, and so on. I could literally talk for 25 minutes just about this. So there's been a lot of speculation and talk over why all the pitcher injuries. Is it the pitch clock? Is it the chase for velocity? Is it too much spin? Is it too much throwing or not enough throwing? No one can really say, and the thing that we can say is there's clearly no quick fix. MLB has launched a comprehensive study to learn more. So stay tuned. Number 5, Bad Bunny's Major League Baseball agency. If you didn't know, Bad Bunny has a Major League Baseball agency. On April 10th, the MLBPA, so the Players Association, decertified Rimas agent William Arroyo and prevented Rimas executives Noah Assad and Jonathan Miranda from seeking certification after accusing the agency of providing improper benefits to players. There was kind of a little like quick pro quo going on. It seemed like they were trying to incentivize them with like fancy cars and stuff like that, it sounds like. Additionally, Rimas's other MLBPA certified agent, Michael Velasquez, was threatened with decertification and quit the company, according to a lawsuit. The latest in this is actually that Bad Bunny's sports representation firm has sued the MLBPA just this past week, I believe, asking for a restraining order against the union that would allow it to keep working with the company's clients. And as of now, its roster says that it now includes NL MVP Ronald Acuna Jr. Rima Sports, under its corporate name Diamond Sports LLC, sued the U.S. District Court in San Juan, Puerto Rico, accusing Major League Baseball Players Association of violating Puerto Rico's general tort claim and tortious interference with its contracts to represent players. Ooh, Bad Bunny in on some baseball drama. Who knew? So that's one to watch as well. Number 6, Ohtani hit his first home run as a Dodger. Ohtani's a Dodger, if you didn't know. And he hit his first home run at Dodger Stadium as a Dodger. And a fan caught it, and there was some drama around it, if you didn't hear. So first, the Dodgers, they denied her request to have Ohtani sign and return the authenticated ball. They would not authenticate the ball for her. They bartered with her ultimately on terms of the exchange. They gave up 2 hats signed by Ohtani along with an autographed bat and ball. Did not give her the option to potentially, meet Ohtani, give the ball back, do the cute thing. Like, it's really just not that much work. And it's like what you do, right? It's nice. It's 2 minutes of the player's time. But per DodgersNation.com, Amber, who was the fan's name who caught the ball, she is quoted saying, "As a Dodger fan, I expected maybe a little bit more warmth, I should say, from them, but it was really just sad that I needed to make a decision right then and there." So they separated her from her husband, reports said, and they kind of maybe literally and figuratively pin her against a wall and were like, "Give us the ball. What's it going to take?" And she was like, "I mean, you're not giving me any options, and this is not a very positive experience. I feel kind of threatened, so here you go. Here's your damn ball back." But the Dodgers now say that Roman and her husband, Alexis, were invited to an on-field experience at Dodger Stadium. The team also said it will review its ballpark processing for retrieving milestone baseballs. Yeah, Dodgers, get on that. That's really my only take, is figure it out. There should be some hard process and procedure, and it should look a lot better than that. Already running behind on the clock, you guys. Number 7, Jackson Holliday debut. Probably the most touted prospect in baseball. He was the first overall draft pick in 2022 for the Orioles, called up on April 10th, 2024. He is the son of former Major League player Matt Holliday. He went 2 for 34, y'all. The fewest hits by a first draft pick in that period of time, and he was sent back down to AAA. Holliday batted .321 in 155 minor league games before hitting just .059. I don't even know how to say double-digit batting averages. He hit .059 during his 10-game stint with the Baltimore Orioles. Just a blip in the radar for Jackson Holliday. Just not the way things were meant to go for him initially. So hopefully he'll get back in his groove and we will see him when he is good and ready. But that was big news. Number 8, Ohtani and Betts, co-MVPs here. So if you haven't heard, Shohei Ohtani, he's only hitting this season because he had to have not Tommy John, but really Tommy John. And anyway, he can't pitch until next season. So he's just DHing and he's slaying. He has a league-leading .348 average and a .676 slug, good for also league-leading 1.102 OPS and a .209 OPS plus. That's ridiculous if you didn't know. He has the most hits and home runs in all of MLB with 64 hits and 13 homers. He has also stolen 11 bases. He does it all on the bases and in the batter's box. Basically, everything on his StatCast is the tip top of the league, like top of the league or top, 1%, the top of the league, from exit velocity to expected on base stats and hard hit percentage. But his teammate, Mookie Betts, has scored a league-leading 40 runs. He is also batting .341, just a few points behind Shohei Ohtani. He has a .441 on-base percentage and a .562 slug, all significantly above league average. He is in the top 2% of the league with his low strikeout percentage, top 5% of his walk percentage, all of his expected batting stats in the top 5% of the league. Plus, he's playing multiple positions for the Dodgers. So this is probably what you've heard, if you haven't heard about how well he's doing at the plate, is that He is primarily slotting into the shortstop position at the start of this season, which is a position he has never played regularly. And to be the kind of veteran that he is and have that kind of flexibility, he's not playing a fabulous shortstop, but he's doing it, and he's providing the value that is needed for the Dodgers at this point in time. Certainly MVP caliber stuff. Let's move on to number 9. We've got to talk about how the Fanatics uniforms, the new uniforms, they suck. If you haven't heard about this yet, well, here's the gist. MLB wanted lighter, more flexible uniforms with better levels of moisture wicking, but these are not well suited for the traditional embroidered lettering. And also you can literally see through the pants. Yeah. Per player feedback, they also cannot be tailored to the players the way that they have in the past, which I think is pretty important. But after gaslighting us and telling us that they aren't different and or they were going to be very popular, thanks, Rob Manfred, MLB and Nike have now announced just in the last week or so that they will be making changes, and hopefully we'll see something similar to what we're used to quality-wise by 2025. Number 10, Mike Trout injured again. This is a sad one, y'all. Mike Trout, one of the best players in the game this day and age. Mike played 119 games in 2019 as he dealt with a back injury. He played only 36 games in 2021 due to a calf injury. He played 82 games last season due to a fractured wrist. These are all things like he literally got hit with a ball in the wrist and it shattered. Like, not things that are avoidable. He is now down with a torn meniscus in his knee. No official timetable, but likely out for at least 6 weeks after having surgery on May 7th. Trout was hitting .220, slashing .325 with a .541 slug, and had an MLB leading 10 home runs in the first 29 games of the season. Wishing you a speedy recovery, Mike Trout. Number 11, the broadcasting rights and Bally Sports bankruptcy. Commissioner Rob Manfred and some of the sports owners are more seriously talking about nationalizing baseball's TV rights, most notably because of cord cutting. Also, like the failure of traditional regional sports networks, Bally Sports, bankruptcy, and the simultaneous battles for streaming supremacy waged by Netflix, Amazon, Roku's in it now, Peacock. It's all putting the leagues in a trickier spot than ever before, and it creates a need to navigate new solutions. So according to the New York Times, some baseball owners and executives, mostly in the smaller markets, believe that the best way to grow media revenues over the long haul is to centralize the deal making, and from there to potentially sell all 30 teams as a regular season broadcast in one streaming package. As fans, we're like, yes, give it to me, but there are others in the game, particularly the teams that make the most money off of owning their own broadcasting rights, like the St. Louis Cardinals. They are very opposed to surrendering their power over the team's streaming rights. Makes sense, but this is a big storyline to watch. Things are going to change with the way that we consume baseball a lot over the next few seasons. They are rapidly evolving. We've got the first game of the season on Roku today that just kind of came out of nowhere. Let's move on to number 12 because the clock is ticking and I'm failing. Number 12, Marlins wave the white flag on May 4th as they trade Luis Arias. So the Padres finalized a deal with the Marlins for two-time batting champion Luis Arias and cash considerations. Miami acquired right-handed reliever Woo-Suk Go and 3 prospects, outfielders Dylan Head and Jacob Marcy, and first baseman / outfielder Nathan Martorella. Arias led the AL, if you don't know about him. He led the AL with a .316 average in 2022. He then led the majors with a .354 mark last season to become the second player to win a batting title in consecutive seasons for different teams. Hell yeah. I'm a big Luis Arias fan. And it's cool that he's on a team that is, more or less maybe going to be a contender. We're going to get there to the Padres. Number 13, though, is the Astros dynasty dead? And we got to talk about Ronel Blanco, too. The Astros have won 2 World Series. They reached 2 other World Series, and between the American League Championship Series every season since 2017. That is a 7-season run, which came after an 11-year stretch in which they reached the postseason just one time. The Astros had a 7-19 record in their first 26 games of the season, which is their worst start in 55 years. And they were just not expected to struggle at all. Like, I literally picked them to win the World Series, I think, before the season started. They have since improved to 20-25, good for 4th place, but they are only 4 games back from the first place Mariners in the AL West. So, I mean, honestly, it's still anybody's game at this point. The other story for the Astros is Ronel Blanco, who is the only on the roster due to the amount of pitching injuries the club has sustained, which is certainly a part of the reason of their early season struggles. But his story is pretty cool. He signed with the Astros as an international free agent in 2016. He made his MLB debut in 2022 at 28 years old. And he threw a no-hitter against the Toronto Blue Jays on April 1st, 2024. 28 years old to make your MLB debut is crazy. Blanco set an expansion era record, so since 1961, of 44 outs recorded to begin a season before allowing a hit. That's 44. On May 14th versus the Athletics, he was then ejected for sticky substance. What? So many twists and turns, and he has received the standard 10-game suspension for that. We'll talk more about sticky substance some other time because, again, the clock is running and I'm already behind, but it's very subjective. So sucks for him, sucks for the team, but I wouldn't let that change your opinion of his success because we've seen it happen with lots of players at this point, and who knows what really calls for ejection or not. Number 14, let's talk about Shota Imanaga over Yamamoto, greater than. That's the headline here. Shota is 5-0. He has a .96 ERA and 51 strikeouts, 8 walks in 46 2/3 innings pitched. Yamamoto, who was a huge story in free agency in the offseason, he is 4-1 with a 3.21 ERA. So his ERA is significantly higher. That's the biggest outlier here. He has 53 strikeouts, so a couple more than Shota. 10 walks, again, a couple more than Shota. He's pitched 1 inning more than Shota's, 47 2/3. Here's the real headline. Shota Imanaga is on a 4-year, $53 million deal with the Chicago Cubs. His average annual value is about $13.25 million. Yamamoto is on a 12-year, $325 million record-setting contract. That is good for a $27 million average annual value. So he's literally making over double on an average annually, but he also Shota's on a 4-year deal and Yamamoto is on a 12-year guaranteed deal. Insane. So that's one to watch and something people are going to be talking about all season long. Let's talk about number 15, the Paul Skeens debut. He is 21 years old. He's going to turn 22 coming up here on May 29th. So happy early birthday, Paul. He was the first overall pick in the 2023 draft and certainly the most excitement around a pitching debut in many, many years since the likes of Steven Strasburg. He made his debut on May 11th versus the Cubs at PNC Park. He struck out 7 and he had 17 pitches that he threw over 100 miles per hour. That was the big headline of seeing him that first time out. Then he started his second start against the Cubs at Wrigley. He went 6 innings, 11 strikeouts, 1 walk, no hits, baby. He was over 100 pitches, which is far more than he has pitched professionally. So had to yank him at this point, but man, this guy is already so fun to watch. Get in on that Skeens action if you've yet to catch it. Number 16, the Phillies are off to a red hot start. Are they the best team in baseball? Well, they currently are. The Phillies are at 32-14 as of May 18th, 2024. They have the 4th best batting average as a team. They have the 2nd most runs scored, and they are top 6 in all offensive stats as a team. They are 3rd best in ERA as a team with the most innings pitched and most strikeouts of all teams. They are top 6 in indicative pitching stats across the board, and they have the 2nd best run differential and the most runs scored per game in all of baseball currently. I say this because you don't have to be the best, the tip top and everything, but you got to be in the top half, maybe even the top 25%, if you will, in everything. And that's what the Phillies are doing, and they're doing it as a team. Awesome. Number 17, let's talk about the Aaron Boone ejection. Did you hear about it? Well, an umpire named, I think his name is Harry Wendelstadt. I didn't write his first name down, but he had warned Aaron Boone that he would eject him if Boone said another word very early on in this game versus the Athletics. So Boone kept quiet, but a fan behind the dugout appeared to yell at the umpire, and Wendelstadt threw Aaron Boone out for that because I guess he thought it was him. Boone was actually told by the league that he's not going to be fined. Managers typically are for an ejection, but it was obviously ridiculous. And there's been a lot of speculation that while Wendelstedt will not receive any formal punishment, which is rough, right? Because he doubled down on it. He didn't even come out and say like, hey, I made a mistake. He was like, nope, pretty sure like that's my job. That's what I was doing. Anyway, he is not likely to be assigned postseason games, is what we're kind of hearing rumblings of, as there is additional pay and credentials for umpires there. So while he's not receiving a direct punishment, there is certainly a like looking down on him, and, you know, maybe a more overarching, just kind of subtle thing that will happen over time. It just reflects poorly on him more so than anything. Speaking of the Yankees, number 18, Juan Soto, Yankee for life. Well, Soto turned down $440 million for a 15-year contract extension with the Nationals in 2022. So that's what you need to know as we're going to start hearing this Juan Soto extension and more so free agency talk. Because this year as a Yankee, he's loving it, y'all. He is batting .310, slashing .408 and .530 with a 170 WRC plus. Is that good? It's good. He has 169 home runs in his career and an 18.7 walk rate, so he walks a lot, and he strikes out just 16.9% of the time. He is a very valuable player for any team, and Yankees owner Hal Steinbrenner told the Associated Press this week, quote, I think we'd like to see him here for the rest of his career. I don't think there's any doubt in that. His agent, Scott Boras, doesn't tend to do deals in the middle of the season. Neither do I. I think it can be a distraction. But as I said in spring training, this is a unique situation and a very unique player, so I wouldn't be shocked if there was a conversation or two, possibly during the course of the season. I think it's worth doing at some point. To which Scott Boras said, always happy to talk to Hal. Right now, Juan Soto is just focused on winning. Yeah. Oh, man, we love the back and forth with Boras, don't we? But that's something to keep an eye on. What are the Yankees going to have to pay? And after this offseason, Scott Boras is going to make them pay even harder. We're only going to be a few minutes over here, folks, so let's keep going. Speaking of Scott Boras, number 19, Boras clients sign late and aren't great. So there was the big Boras 4 or 5 in the offseason that we were following, but I want to talk to you about the 2 that signed last, his starting pitchers, and how I really think he's only screwed them over. I mean, in more ways than one. So about a week before the start of the season, Blake Snell signed a 2-year, $62 million deal with the San Francisco Giants. Scott Boras's goal, if you have not figured out or haven't heard about him before, is to get his clients and himself significantly overpaid. So he's looking to get these like long-term deals, and that's what he promises them. So the fact that he got Snell a 2-year deal, doesn't matter how much it is for. Ultimately, year over year, it's 2 years. Snell went on the injured list with a left adductor strain retroactive to April 23rd. Prior to his injury, though, he went 0-3 with an 11.57 ERA in just 11 2/3 innings. So that's how you can get a real ugly ERA real quick. He allowed 18 hits in 11 2/3 innings, 15 runs, and struck out 12. So he's still striking people out. Don't worry, but not great. Not the Cy Young Snell. This is also what I don't like about Blake Snell. I'm not like that surprised about this, but the reason we're kind of looking at it in the storyline is, you know, obviously he missed all of spring training, and it's a thing. It's a thing that Boras held out on, and it certainly isn't serving his clients in more ways than one. Jordan Montgomery, also a Boras client, no longer a Boras client. He fired Scott Boras and is now working with the Wolf, Joel Wolf, as his new agent. He signed a 1-year, $25 million deal. He does have a club option, or I think a player option actually, for 2025, but we'll be very likely to see him as a free agent again with his new agency. But he signed with the Snakes on March 29th with the season underway. He made his first start just on April 19th, so weeks into the season. He is currently 2-2 with the Diamondbacks. He has a 4.76 ERA and 28 1/3 innings with just 17 strikeouts. I mean, he's not a high strikeout guy anyway, so I'm not super surprised by that. But his whip, his walks and hits per innings pitched, 1.412. That is definitely above the league average, currently at 1.217. And again, they missed at least 2, if not 3 starts from him on that deal because he didn't sign until late. So just an update with Scott Boras clients. I don't know if you can hear that, but my 25 minutes is up and we've still got 5 more to go. So we're going for 30 minutes. Let's do it. Are the Padres and the Mets both better in 2024 without their blockbuster roster? Is our 20th headline for 25% through the season. The Padres lost Juan Soto, Blake Snell, and Josh Hader, to name a few. Also, Matt Carpenter, veteran leadership. He's not there anymore. The Mets lost the likes of Scherzer, Verlander, among others. Their starting pitching, at the least, has taken a significant hit on paper. Currently, the Mets are 20-25, and the Padres are just a game under 500, 23-24. Personally, I predict that they both end with better records than last year. Let me know what you think, because on paper, again, they're like much less threatening, but I don't think that's the whole story. And that this will be a headline to watch as we get deeper into the season, especially if they do continue to play better than last season. 21, catcher's interference is more common and putting catchers at risk. So catcher's interference calls continue to skyrocket at a historic pace currently in Major League Baseball. The catcher's interference total from 2010 to 2018 was 31. That's how there were 31 in that 8-season period. It has been called 33 times so far this season. And that was probably as of a couple weeks ago or a week or so ago. So it's certainly been, there's more since then. But according to Katie Wu of The Athletic, there are more than double the interferences in 2024 compared to the 2022 season at the same point. So there were only 15 at 2022 season at the same point as there were 33 in 2024. The league is on pace for a record 140 catcher's interferences this season. The push to frame the lower strike has inadvertently put the safety of catchers in jeopardy. And of course, we saw that with the Cardinals catcher, Wilson Contreras, who was hit with a swing of JD Martinez, fracturing his forearm. And yeah, it's one of those risks that we're taking as long as the strike zone really isn't automated and framing is still a thing. And catchers, they just seem like they're willing to take the risks. It's what they have to do to get that competitive advantage. And it's just the latest in advantages and kind of risks that we're hearing about. So that's something to keep an eye on as well. Last few here, 22. There are talks of incentivizing to reinvent the true starting pitcher. 10 active Major League starting pitchers have won a Cy Young Award, and 9 of them have spent time on the injured list in 2024. And we're only 25% through the season. Yikes. We are missing the magic of the starting pitcher matchups, and obviously the way the starting pitcher is used in the game has changed significantly, even just like in the last 5, let alone 10 seasons. There is all kinds of talk of stipulations and rule change to save the endangered species that is the true starting pitcher. Couple things that have been talked about, and you can dig into this more if you'd like. The Athletic has done some great pieces on it, but the double hook. So if the starter goes less than 5 innings, you lose the DH. Now that the DH is universal, that could be a good one. Allowing less pitchers on the roster is obviously a way that you have to utilize your players and rely on each individual player a little bit more. So those are all things that are being talked about, and we'll see if they end up being part of that collective bargaining agreement talks, which will be renegotiated before the 2026 season. Number 23, Jenny Cavanaugh becomes the first woman to be a primary play-by-play for a Major League Baseball team with the Oakland A's. Along with this personal accomplishment for Jenny, on Monday, May 13th, Jenny made more history alongside her longtime friend, Julia Morales of the Houston Astros. Julia is typically the in-game reporter for the Astros and has been for nearly a decade now, but she swapped spots with her broadcast partner for a special play-by-play on May 13th. It was the first time that 2 women did the play-by-play on television of the same game. Crushing it, gals. Love you. Love to look up to that. Number 24, Ellie De La Cruz dazzles this past Thursday. De La Cruz went 4 for 4 at the plate. He walked and stole 4 bases, bringing his season total to 30. It was just the 6th time that a player has stolen 30 or more bases in their first 44 games. That is their first 44 games of the season since 1901. Yeah, that seems kind of like a murky stat, but he is on track to possibly beat stolen base records of 110 or more that have not been touched since the likes of Vince Coleman in 1987. So literally not in my lifetime. He is currently batting .270. He's got a .370 on base percentage and a .503 slug, all well above league average. Nice OPS of .873. 3. That is good for 9 home runs and 22 RBIs, along with those 30 stolen bases in the first 45 games of the season. If you haven't watched Elly De La Cruz, he is one of those guys that is worth going to the ballpark. If you're not a Reds fan, if they're playing a team you don't care about, you go to watch Elly De La Cruz, and that's why he's on this headline list. Okay, we made it to 25. We went a little over, but it was worth it, right? You're getting caught up. Last headline we're going to talk about is the City Connect uniforms for the season. So far, the Phillies, the Mets, the Rays, the Guardians, and the Tigers have dropped their City Connects. If you have not seen them yet, check them out, because the City Connects is a special uniform that is designed to represent the culture of the city along with the team, and only certain teams get them every year. So the Phillies have like a really cool blue kind of balayage thing going on. The Mets have theirs is kind of to represent the subway system, and they've got some cool purple lining from the 7 train that goes to Queens. The Rays I think are winning City Connects this year, but you let me know what you think. They've got some cool neon touches. The just material, or the way that they've made the material look on them, is really cool. They've got this sweet like Ray Beach logo thing going on. Guardians kind of looks like it's a World Baseball Classic Team USA uniform. I don't know. Not a huge fan of those, but let me know what you think. And the Tigers got a cool Motor City thing going on. So we are staying tuned for the Dodgers, the Twins, the Blue Jays, and the Cardinals have leaked. They're supposed to come out actually the day before this episode will come out. So we'll see. They leaked the Friday before they're supposed to come out on a Monday, but we'll talk all about that. Maybe when we do this, can I do 50 headlines in 50 minutes? I don't think I'm going to try for that, but thank you for hanging out with me, getting caught up on the first quarter of the Major League Baseball season here on Peace, Love, and Baseball. Like I said, if you're not following along, make sure you're subscribed on YouTube or on your favorite podcast platform. We'll get back to some team feature episodes. I got to actually see how many teams we've done. I think we're close to the halfway point, but looking to get into even more teams. We've still got some big ones. I mean, we got to do the Cubs, the Mets, the Yankees, the Cardinals. We got to do them all. And if you are a Cardinals fan like me, we're doing our STL Cards 2024 season scrapbook episodes, mostly as live episodes. We'll see how consistent I can stay with that, as I am getting ready to move across the country in the next few weeks. So I gotta leave you for now, because I'm gonna go fly across the country and buy a house, and that's a big thing I'm gonna go do. But I look forward to seeing you again next week for your weekly episode of Peace, Love, and Baseball.